The ship called Silent Dawn docked at Velthury Station 7 with a tired groan of metal. Kang Doan stood at the airlock, checking his rifle one last time before stepping onto alien ground. He had been a soldier for 10 years. First on Earth, then in the stars. The universe was bigger than anyone had imagined, and it needed men like him. Men who could fight. Men who could protect. Captain Jiwoo walked up beside him. She was tall for a Korean woman, with short black hair and eyes that had seen too much death. She commanded the Silent Dawn and its crew of 12 mercenaries. They took jobs across the galaxy. Protection. Extraction. Sometimes things darker than that. But they had rules. They did not hurt innocents. They did not betray clients. And they always finished the job. The client is Velthury, Jiwoo said. Royal family. They want us to escort a princess to their homeworld. Dawn raised an eyebrow. A princess? Why hire humans? Because humans are good at killing things, Jiwoo answered with a small smile. And the Velthury respect that, even if they think we are barbarians. Dohan had heard of the Velthury. They were humanoid, but not human. Their skin was silver blue, and glowing marks covered their bodies like living tattoos. They lived for hundreds of years. Their society was ruled by women. Queens, commanders, politicians. All female. Males in their culture were protected, kept safe, considered too precious for danger. The idea of a male soldier was strange to them. They walked through the station. It was beautiful in an alien way. The walls curved like the inside of a seashell. Lights floated in the air without wires. Velthury citizens moved past them, tall and graceful, looking at the humans with curiosity and a little disgust. A Velthury official met them at a golden door. She was female, dressed in armor that looked like liquid metal. "You are the humans," she said. It was not a question. "Follow me. The princess is waiting." They entered a large chamber filled with soft light. And there, sitting on a chair that looked like a throne, was Princess Yeri. Dohan had expected someone cold, someone royal and distant. But Yeri looked young. Her silver blue skin was smooth, and her glowing marks were pale pink, almost like flowers. Her eyes were large and dark, and they watched the humans with open curiosity. She wore white robes that flowed like water. "So these are the famous human mercenaries," Yeri said. Her voice was musical. "I expected you to be bigger." Jiwoo bowed her head slightly. "We are big enough, princess. We will keep you safe." Yeri stood and walked toward them. She stopped in front of Doan and looked up at him. He was not tall by human standards, but he was taller than her. She studied his face like he was a puzzle. "You have scars," she said. "On your hands. On your neck. You have fought many times." "Yes," Dohan said simply. "Were you afraid?" "Sometimes." She tilted her head. Velthury males do not fight. They are kept safe, protected. They do not know fear like that. She paused. "Is it terrible to know you might die?" Dohan thought about the question. No one had ever asked him that before. "It is terrible," he admitted. "But it is also simple. When you fight, you do not think about tomorrow. You only think about now. Protect the person next to you. Stay alive. It is honest." Yeri smiled. It changed her whole face. "Honest. I like that word." She turned to Jiwoo. "I approve of your crew, Captain. We leave tomorrow." That night, Doan could not sleep. He walked through the station, checking security routes, watching the shadows. It was habit. A soldier never truly rested. He found himself at a viewing window. Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. Ships moved in the distance. Most were Velthury, but some were not. He noticed 3 vessels at the edge of sensor range. They were not moving, just watching. Jiwoo appeared beside him. "You see them too," Yes, they are not Valkyrie. Krath, Jiwoo said quietly. The Valkyrie's old enemy. They have been at Cold War for 200 years. She crossed her arms. Maybe they are just passing through. Maybe, Doan said. But he did not believe it. Doan. Jiwoo's voice was serious. The princess seems to like you. Be careful. Valkyrie politics are deadly. If you get too close to royal blood, you become a target. I am already a target, Dahun said. I am a human mercenary protecting their princess. If anyone wants to hurt her, they have to go through me first. Jiwoo sighed. That is what I am afraid of. The next morning, they boarded the Silent Dawn. Princess Yeri brought only 2 attendants, both female warriors in silver armor. The ship was not luxurious, but it was fast and strong. Dohun showed Yeri to her quarters. It is small, she said, looking around. It is safe, Dohun replied. She sat on the bed and looked at him. You do not treat me like other people do. You are not afraid of me. You do not flatter me. Should I be afraid? Most people are. My mother is the queen. One word from me could destroy a career. A life. She paused. But you look at me like I am just a person. You are just a person, Dahun said. Royal blood does not stop bullets. It does not stop knives. In danger, everyone is equal. My job is to keep you alive. That is all. Yeri laughed softly. You are strange, human. I think I like you. The ship engines hummed to life. The Silent Dawn lifted off and turned toward the stars. Dahun went to the bridge, where Jiwoo was checking the navigation. Course is set, she said. 3 days to the Valkyrie homeworld. The ship entered hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines of light. Everything seemed peaceful. Then the alarms began to scream. Contact. The pilot shouted. Multiple ships. They followed us into hyperspace. Dohun grabbed his rifle. Through the window, he saw them. Dark ships with red markings. Krath vessels. At least 5 of them. They were not alone. And the princess was their target. The Silent Dawn shook as enemy fire hit the shields. Dohan ran through the corridor, his boots heavy on the metal floor. Red emergency lights flashed everywhere. The ship screamed with alarms. Shields at 60%. Jiwoo's voice came through the speakers. They're trying to disable us, not destroy us. They want the princess alive. Dawn reached Yeri's quarters. He opened the door and found her standing with her 2 attendants. The Valkyrie warriors had their weapons drawn. They looked calm, but Dawn could see fear in their eyes. We need to move, Dawn said. Follow me to the safe room. What is happening? Yeri asked. Krath attack. 5 ships. They followed us. He grabbed her arm, gently but firmly. Stay close to me. Do not leave my side. They moved through the ship. Another explosion rocked the corridor. One of the attendants fell. Dohan helped her up. Keep moving. They reached the safe room at the center of the ship. It had thick walls and its own air supply. If the ship was destroyed, this room might survive long enough for rescue. But rescue was not coming. They were alone in hyperspace. Boarding pods detected. The pilot shouted over the speakers. They're attaching to the hull. Dohan turned to the Valkyrie warriors. Protect the princess. Do not open this door for anyone except me or Captain Jiwoo. Where are you going? Yeri asked. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. To stop them. He left before she could argue. The first boarding pod broke through the hull near the cargo bay. Dohan was waiting. The metal door exploded inward, and Krath soldiers poured through. They were tall, reptilian, with green scales and yellow eyes. They wore black armor and carried plasma rifles. Dohan fired. The first soldier dropped. Then the second. He moved like water, flowing from cover to cover, never staying still. The craft were strong, but they were slow. Doan was fast. He had trained for this his whole life. 3 more craft came through. Dohan killed them all, but there were too many boarding pods. Too many enemies. He heard gunfire from other parts of the ship. His crew was fighting. Some of them were dying. He ran toward the safe room. If the craft reached the princess, nothing else mattered. He turned a corner and found 3 craft soldiers at the safe room door. They were trying to cut through with plasma torches. They had not seen him yet. Dohan did not hesitate. He dropped his rifle and drew his knife. Guns were loud. Knives were quiet. He killed the first one from behind, blade through the neck. The second turned surprised, and Don's knife found his heart. The third raised his weapon, but Dohan was faster. He grabbed the craft's arm, twisted, and drove the knife into his eye. 3 bodies fell to the floor. Dohan was breathing hard. Blood covered his hands. Not his blood. The safe room door opened. Yeri stood there, staring at him. At the bodies. At the blood. "You killed them," she whispered. "Yes, with a knife. With your hands." Her eyes were wide. No Velthari male could do this. No Velthari male would even try. "I am not Velthari." The ship shook again. Harder this time. The lights flickered and died. Emergency power came on, dim and red. Jiwoo's voice crackled through Dohan's communicator. "Dohan, engine room is hit. We're losing power. I'm trying to make an emergency exit from hyperspace, but we're going to crash." "Where?" "Unknown moon. Uncharted. It's the only option." "Do it," the ship screamed as it tore out of hyperspace. Through a window, Dohan saw a green and blue moon rushing toward them. Jungle, mountains, ocean, beautiful and deadly. "Everyone hold on," Jiwoo shouted. Dohan grabbed Yeri and pulled her to the floor. He covered her body with his own. The ship hit the atmosphere. Fire surrounded them. The world became noise and heat and terror. Then impact. Everything went black. Dohan woke to pain. His head was bleeding. His ribs screamed when he breathed. But he was alive. He looked around. The safe room was destroyed. Twisted metal everywhere. Smoke filled the air. But Yeri was beneath him, unconscious but breathing. He had protected her. He carried her out of the wreckage. The silent dawn was broken. Half the ship was buried in jungle mud. Trees surrounded them, tall and strange, with leaves that glowed faintly in the dim light. Other survivors gathered. Jiwoo was alive, her arm in a makeshift sling. 4 other crew members stood with her. The rest were dead. The 2 Velthari attendants had not survived. Yeri woke in Dohan's arms. She looked around, confused. Then understanding filled her eyes. "My attendants?" Dohan shook his head. She closed her eyes. A single tear ran down her silver blue cheek. But she did not cry out. She did not scream. When she opened her eyes again, they were hard. "What do we do now?" she asked. "We survive," Dohan said. "We get you home." Jiwoo limped over. The craft ships were damaged in the fight. But they'll send hunters. They know we're here. They know the princess is alive. "How long until Velthari rescue?" Dohan asked. "We sent a distress signal before we crashed. Maybe 3 days. Maybe more. 3 days. In a hostile jungle. With craft hunters coming for them. Dohan set Yeri down gently. He checked his weapons. Rifle, pistol, knife. Enough ammunition for maybe 50 shots. "I will protect the princess," he said. "The rest of you, fortify the ship. Make it defensible." Yeri grabbed his arm. "Why? Why do you risk so much for me? Is money worth your life?" Dohan looked at her. She was dirty, scared, and far from home. But she was still standing, still fighting. "It is not about money," he said quietly. "It is about doing what is right. You are in danger. I can help. That is enough." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Then I will trust you, Kang Dawn. I will trust you with my life." In the distance, they heard the sound of engines. Craft landing craft, descending through the clouds. The hunt had begun. The jungle was alive. Strange birds called from the trees. Insects buzzed in clouds of green light. The air was thick and wet, hard to breathe. Dohun moved through the undergrowth like a ghost, with Yeri close behind him. They had left a crashed ship 2 hours ago. Jiwoo and the survivors would defend it, make it look like everyone was still inside. But Dohun knew the truth. The Kraz wanted the princess. They would search everywhere until they found her dog, so he took her into the jungle. He would keep her moving, keep her hidden, keep her alive. "How do you know where to go?" Yeri whispered. "I do not," Dohun admitted. "But standing still means death. Movement means life." She was struggling. Her royal robes were torn and dirty. Her feet were bleeding from the rough ground. But she did not complain, not once. Dohun respected that. They walked until darkness fell. The jungle changed at night. The glowing leaves became brighter. Strange creatures moved in the shadows, watching them with curious eyes. Dohun found a small cave behind a waterfall and decided it was safe enough to rest. He made a small fire. The smoke would be hidden by the water. Yeri sat close to the flames, shivering. "I have never been cold before," she said. "The palace is always warm. Perfect temperature, always." She laughed bitterly. "I did not know what cold felt like." Dohun removed his jacket and gave it to her. She looked surprised, but took it. "Thank you." They sat in silence for a while. The waterfall roared softly. The fire crackled. "Tell me about Earth," Yeri said suddenly. "Tell me about humans." Dohun thought about it. "Earth is beautiful. Blue oceans, green forests, white mountains. But it is also cruel. We fight each other. We always have. Wars, conflicts, hatred." He paused. "When we met alien life, we thought things would change. We thought we would unite. And we did, for a while. But humans are humans. We still fight. We still hurt each other. That sounds sad. It is. But it is also hopeful. Because even when we fight, there are always people who try to help. People who protect others. People who choose kindness, even when it is hard." He looked at her. "That is what I believe in. Not governments, not empires. Just people trying to do good." Yeri was quiet for a long moment. "The Velthri are different. We do not fight each other. Our society is ordered, peaceful, but..." She hesitated. "It is also cold. Everything is about duty, about bloodline, about power. I have never met anyone who does good just because it is right. Everyone has a reason, a political motive." "Is that why you were curious about me?" She nodded. "You risked your life for me. A stranger, an alien. And when I asked you why, you said it was your job. But that is not true, is it? You could have run. You could have saved yourself." Dohun did not answer immediately. The fire reflected in his dark eyes. "I had a sister," he said finally. "Her name was Minji. She was young, bright, full of life." His voice became heavy. "During the First Contact War, our city was attacked. I was a soldier, far away. I could not protect her." He paused. "She died, because I was not there." Yeri's hand touched his arm gently. "I am sorry. I made a promise after that. Never again. I would never fail to protect someone if I had the power to help. Even if it cost my life." He looked at her. "That is why I protect you, princess. Not for money, not for duty. Because I cannot let another person die when I could have saved them. Yeri's eyes were wet with tears. You carry so much pain. Everyone carries pain. The question is what you do with it. The next 3 days were hard. They moved through the jungle, always ahead of the Krath hunters. Dohan taught Yeri how to walk quietly, how to find water, how to recognize dangerous plants. She learned fast. At night, they talked. Yeri told him about Velthari culture, about her mother, the queen, who was ancient and powerful and cold, about her sisters, who fought each other for political power, about her own dreams of exploring the galaxy, seeing things no Velthari had seen before. Dohan told her about Korea, about the food, the music, the mountains of his homeland, about his crew, his friends, the strange family he had built among the stars. They were not just protector and princess anymore. They were something else, something new. On the third night, the Krath found them. Dohan heard them coming, footsteps in the darkness. At least 6 soldiers. Stay here, he whispered to Yeri. Do not move. Do not make a sound. He disappeared into the jungle. The Krath never saw him. He moved through the shadows like death itself. One by one, they fell. Knife work, silent, efficient. By the time the last one realized something was wrong, Dohan's blade was already in his throat. But the last soldier was not alone. A 7th Krath appeared from nowhere, sword raised. Dohan killed him, but not before the blade cut deep into his side. He stumbled back to the cave. Yeri gasped when she saw the blood. You are hurt. It is nothing. It is not nothing. She forced him to sit. She tore strips from her robes and pressed them against the wound. Her hands were shaking but determined. Why? She whispered. Why do you keep doing this? You could die. Dohan looked at her. His vision was blurring. The pain was enormous, but he managed to smile. Because you are worth protecting. He fell unconscious. Yeri stayed awake all night, watching over him. She changed his bandages. She kept the fire burning. She prayed to gods she was not sure she believed in. And when morning came, when Dohan's fever finally broke, she was still there, holding his hand, refusing to let go. The sound of engines filled the sky. But these were not Krath ships. Velthari warships descended through the clouds. Gold and silver, beautiful and deadly. Rescue had arrived, and leading them, standing at the front of the largest ship, was Queen Suna herself. She had come for her daughter. But when her ancient eyes found the wounded human lying in the jungle mud, still holding her daughter's hand, something changed in her expression. Something that looked almost like interest. The Velthari flagship was called the Eternal Throne. It was the largest ship Dohan had ever seen. Gold walls stretched in every direction. Lights floated like small stars. Everything was beautiful and cold, like a palace made of ice. Dohan woke in a medical room. His wound had been treated by Velthari doctors. The technology was far beyond human medicine. The cut that should have taken weeks to heal was already closing. A guard stood at his door. Female, tall, wearing silver armor. She did not speak to him. She did not need to. He was a prisoner here. A guest, perhaps, but also a prisoner. The door opened. Captain Jiwoo walked in. Her arm was still bandaged, but she was alive. Dohan felt relief wash over him. You look terrible, Jiwoo said with a small smile. You should see the other guys. She sat beside his bed. Her smile faded. Dohan, we need to talk. The Queen has been asking about you. A lot of questions. Who you are. What you did. How you protected the princess. Is Yeri safe? The princess is fine. She has been telling everyone about you. How you killed the Krath. How you carried her through the jungle. How you took a blade for her. Jiwoo shook her head. You are famous now. The human who saved a Velthari princess. I was just doing my job. I know, But the Velthari do not see it that way. They have never seen a male fight like you, risk his life like you. They think you are something special. Dohan did not like where this was going. What does the queen want? I do not know. But she has requested to speak with you, personally. Jiwoo leaned closer. Be careful, Dawn. Queen Sunha is not like anyone you have ever met. She is 500 years old. She has ruled the Velthari Empire for 3 centuries. She sees everything. She forgets nothing. And she always has a plan. 2 hours later, Dawn stood in the throne room of the Eternal Throne. Queen Sunha sat on a chair made of silver and light. She was tall, taller than any Velthari he had seen. Her skin was deep blue, almost purple. Her glowing marks were white like frozen lightning. Her eyes were the color of stars, and they looked at Dohan like he was an interesting insect. Come closer, human, she said. Her voice was deep and musical, like a river flowing through ancient stones. Dohan walked forward. He did not bow. He was not sure if he should. He was not her subject. The queen noticed. A small smile touched her lips. You do not kneel. I am not Velthari. I do not know your customs, and if you did know them, I would still stand. I kneel to no one. The throne room was silent. Guards shifted nervously. This human was speaking to the queen as an equal. It was unheard of, but Queen Sunha laughed. It was a soft sound, like bells ringing far away. I have watched the recordings, she said. Every moment of your journey with my daughter. Every kill. Every wound. Every word you spoke to her. She leaned forward. You told her about your sister. About your promise. That was not a lie. I do not lie. No, you do not. She stood. Even standing, she seemed to tower over everything. My daughter is my youngest child. My favorite, though I would never admit it to her sisters. When I learned she was in danger, I felt something I have not felt in centuries. Fear. She descended the steps from her throne. The guards moved to follow, but she waved them back. I have ruled for 300 years, she continued. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have sent thousands to war. I have killed millions. She stopped in front of Dawn. Close. Too close. But I have never met anyone like you, Kang Dawn. I am just a soldier. No, you are more than that. Her eyes burned into his. You protected what I could not protect. You saved what I could not save. You bled for my daughter when any sane creature would have run. It was the right thing to do. Yes, it was. She stepped back. And that is why I have made my decision. She turned and walked back to her throne. The room waited in silence. Tomorrow, we arrive at the Velthari homeworld. There will be a ceremony. All the noble houses will attend. She sat down. At that ceremony, I will invoke the right of claiming. Doan frowned. I do not know what that means. It is an ancient law. When a male proves exceptional valor in defense of royal blood, a female of the royal house may claim him. He becomes hers, protected, honored, bound. The words hit Dawn like a punch. You want to own me? I want to honor you. In the only way my people understand. And if I refuse? The queen smiled. It was not a kind smile. No one refuses a queen, human. No one ever has. The ceremony was held in a palace made of crystal. Thousands of Velthari nobles filled the great hall. They wore robes of every color. Their glowing marks shone like a sea of stars. Duhan stood at the front, wearing simple human clothes. Jiwoo stood beside him. She looked worried. You can still run, she whispered. I have a ship ready. And break my contract? Never. Princess Yuri stood with her sisters, watching. Her eyes met Dahan's across the room. She looked sad, worried. Something else he could not name. Queen Sunha entered. The crowd fell silent. She walked to the center of the hall. Her voice rang out, strong and clear. Today, we honor a hero. A human who protected my daughter when no one else could. A male who fought when our society says males should not fight. A stranger who bled for our blood. She turned to Dawn. I invoke the right of claiming. By ancient law, by royal decree, I declare that the human Kang Do-han belongs to the crown. He belongs to me. Gasps filled the hall. Nobles whispered in shock. A human? Claimed by the queen herself? Jiwoo choked on air. She cannot be serious. But the queen was very serious. Her star-colored eyes fixed on Do-han, waiting for him to bow. To accept, to submit. Do-han stepped forward. The room held its breath. He spoke in perfect Valkyrie. He had learned it in the jungle, from Yeri, during their long nights of talking. Your Majesty, I am honored by your words, but I do not recall agreeing to be owned. The silence was absolute. No one had ever refused a queen, not in 500 years. Queen Suna stared at him. For a long moment, her face was unreadable. Then she smiled. A real smile. The first real smile she had shown in centuries. You will, she said softly. You will. And somehow, standing there in front of 1,000 shocked aliens, Do-han knew his life had just changed forever. The days after the ceremony were strange. Do-han was given rooms in the royal palace. Beautiful rooms with windows that looked out over an alien city of silver towers and floating gardens. Servants brought him food. Guards stood at his door. He was treated like a prince, but he was also a prisoner. He could not leave the palace. He could not contact his crew. He could not go home. On the third day, Captain Jiwoo was allowed to visit him. The queen is playing a game, Jiwoo said, pacing the room. She is testing you, seeing how you react to pressure. I know. So what are you going to do? Do-han looked out the window. The alien sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that did not exist on Earth. Purple, gold, deep green. I am going to play her game, he said. And I am going to win. That evening, a servant came with a message. The queen wished to speak with him, alone. Do-han found her in a private garden. It was night now. Strange flowers bloomed in the darkness, glowing softly. Queen Suna stood beside a pool of silver water, looking at the stars. She was not wearing her crown. Without it, she looked almost human. Almost. You refused me in front of my entire court, she said without turning around. Yes. Do you know what that means? No male has ever refused a Valkyrie queen, not in all our history. Then your history needed to change. She turned to face him. Her expression was unreadable. You are either very brave or very foolish. I have been called both. Silence stretched between them. The garden was quiet except for the sound of wind through strange leaves. Why? The queen asked finally. Why refuse? I offered you honor, protection, a place at the highest level of our empire. Any other creature in the galaxy would have accepted without question. Do-han met her eyes. Star-colored eyes that had seen centuries of history. Because I am not property. I am not a thing to be claimed. I am a man, a human, and I choose my own fate, even if that fate is death. Even then, the queen was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, she began to laugh. It was not the cold laugh he had heard in the throne room. It was warmer, almost sad. You remind me of someone, she said. Someone I knew long ago. Before I was queen. Before I was anything. She walked to a stone bench and sat down. For the first time, she looked tired, old. He was Valkyrie, a warrior, one of the few males in our history who chose to fight. I loved him. What happened to him? He died, protecting me, just like you protected my daughter. She looked at him. That is why I claimed you, Dohan. Not because I want to own you, but because I recognize something in you. The same fire. The same spirit. I have not seen it in 500 years. Dohan did not know what to say. He had expected politics, games, manipulation. Not this. Not honesty. I will make you an offer, the Queen continued. Stay for 1 lunar cycle. 1 month. Learn our ways. Meet our people. See our world. She paused. If, after that time, you still wish to leave, I will release you. Full payment. Full honors. No consequences. And if I stay, then we will talk. About something more than ownership. Something new. She stood. The Valkyrie Empire is old, Dohan. Too old. We have become frozen. Stuck in our ways. We need change. We need new ideas. New blood. She looked at him with those ancient eyes. I think you could help me change things. If you wanted to, why me? I am just a human mercenary. No, you are more than that. You are a man who fights for what is right, who protects the weak, who stands against injustice even when it costs him everything. She smiled. That is exactly what an empire needs. Dohan spent the next month in the palace. True to her word, the Queen gave him freedom. He could go anywhere, talk to anyone, learn anything. He trained with Valkyrie warriors. They were shocked at first. A male, fighting? But after he beat their best soldier in single combat, they began to respect him. He learned their language fully, their history, their poetry. He discovered that beneath the cold surface, the Valkyrie had deep emotions. They had just learned to hide them. He spent time with Yeri. She showed him her favorite places in the palace. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. He could see that she cared for him, maybe loved him, but they both knew it could never be. She was a princess. He was an outsider, and he spent time with the Queen. Sunha was different in private. She laughed. She told jokes. She asked him about Earth, about humans, about his life before the stars. She was curious about everything. One night, as they walked through the glowing gardens, she asked him, if you could change one thing about your life, what would it be? Dohan thought about Minji, about the sister he could not save, about the guilt he had carried for so many years. I would have been there, he said quietly. When she needed me, I would have protected her. Sunha nodded. I understand. I have the same regret. The warrior I loved. I was not there when he died. I was playing politics, building power. And when I finally arrived, he was already gone. She took his hand. Her skin was cool, smooth, alien. But the gesture was human, universal. We cannot change the past, she said. But we can change the future. We can protect what we have now. We can build something new from our pain. 2 weeks later, an assassination attempt nearly killed the Queen. A noble house, angry at her interest in the human, had hired killers. Dohan killed 3 of them. The 4th shot him with a plasma gun. The bolt was meant for Sunha. Dohan pushed her away and took it himself. He woke in the medical room again. His chest was wrapped in glowing bandages. Sunha sat beside his bed. She had been there for 3 days. The servant said. She had not left once. You almost died, she whispered. For me, it is what I do. She shook her head. Tears ran down her silver-blue cheeks. Dohan had never seen her cry. No one has protected me in 500 years, she said. No one has put my life above their own. I am the Queen. I protect others. That is my burden. She took his hand. Stay, she said. Not as property. Not as a servant. As something else. Something equal? I do not know what to call it. We do not have a word for it. But I want you beside me, Dawn. I want to change my empire, and I want you to help me do it. Dawn looked at her, at this ancient, powerful queen who had seen centuries of history, who had lost love and found it again, who was offering him something no human had ever been offered. He thought about Earth, about his old life, about the sister he could not save and the promise he had made. And he realized that his promise was not just about protecting one person. It was about protecting everyone he could, making the universe a little bit better, a little bit kinder. He could do that here, with her. He reached out and took her hand. Then I will stay, Suna, not because you claimed me, but because I choose to. She smiled. A real smile. The smile of a woman, not a queen. Then I choose you too. Kang Dawn, I choose you too. In the records of the Velthari Empire, it was written that the human Kang Dawn was claimed by the queen, that he became the first male consort with political standing, that he helped change laws, reform traditions, and build bridges between Velthari and humanity. But the records did not capture everything. They did not mention the quiet nights in the garden, when two people who had lost everything found something new. They did not mention the laughter, the arguments, the slow growth of trust into something deeper. They did not mention that. In his own quiet way, Dawn had claimed her right back, and that, perhaps, was the most human thing of all.